It's okay.
Like China, for instance,
It's
buys
okay.
more.
Yeah.
Why are you singling India out for these additional
It's only
sanctions?
been 8 hours, so let's see what happens over the next. Yeah,
Sanctions
you're going
very
to see a
soon.
lot more.
So this is a taste of
You're
what's
going to
to
see a
come.
lot more. You're going to see so much secondary sanctions. Yes, ma'am.
In just one day, the US triggered three major disruptions in the global economy, and the consequences are quickly mounting. First came an escalation in the tension with BRICS, the alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Then came a blow to the global microchip industry, the very chip needed in smartphones, cars, and electronics. And finally, one of the America's closest ally began to distance itself economically, signaling growing crack in the long-standing alliance. All of this happened within 24 hours. And it's not about the headlines. These events show the how US economy itself start to wobble. India, Washington key partner in the Asian region, is now facing sanctions for the refusing to comply with US demand. President Trump had raised tariff on India's goods from medicines, electronics to diamonds. But such sanctions only put India further away from the US and closer to China, which could significantly weaken America's position in the world stage. This is especially important because India was the only BRIC country still supporting US dollar, and after such move it is likely to start reduce its self-reliance on it as well. Meanwhile, Trump is demanding that largest chip maker relocate their factories to the US. But instead of bringing benefit, this is producing the opposite effect. South Korea and Taiwan are now looking for alternatives, and China is getting the opportunity to accelerate the growth of its own chip. So let's break down. Donald Trump has opened a new conflict, and this time it's not with China and not with the Democrats. His target is the entire BRICS alliance, with India unexpectedly first in line. He has threatened to impose tariffs of 50% on India's goods because of India's increasingly close trade with Russia and deeper involvement in BRICS affairs. Since the start of the war in Ukraine, India has been buying cheap Russian oil, while the other countries have been cutting back on purchase. India has contributed to import in order to curb price growth and inflation. This infuriates Trump, who believes India is not behaving like US ally and deserve punishment. But America cannot afford to lose India, especially in medical field. India is the often called the pharma of the world, produce more than 20% of generic drug that the US healthcare system relies on. This include cancer treatment, antibiotics and blood pressure medications supplied to hospitals, pharmacies and nursing homes across the country. Without them, the American medical system could collapse. If Trump does impose a 50% tariff, drug price will skyrocket. Hospitals already operating their limit will face shortage. Pharmacies will run out of basic medicines. People will start cutting back on insulin, foreign chemotherapy, and postponing surgeries. Not because they don't want treatment, but because they simply cannot afford it. The US does not have the capacity to quickly replace Indian supplies. Building pharmaceutical plant would take years and billions of dollars. In India, the system is already in place, cheap and efficient. If India reduces export because of tariff resistance or a loss of trust, millions of Americans could be left out life-saving medication. This is no longer just an economic issue, it's a matter of national security. The US already spend more on healthcare than any other country. If the Indian supply chain collapses, the nation could face a true medical disaster. Such a move is not just a mistake. Meddling with drug supplies is like playing with matches at a gas station. Once it ignites, it will be too late. Some Indian goods are already subject to 25% tariff, but according to White House leaks, they could be triple, especially for diamonds. US is the largest buyer of such stones, importing 24 billion worth each year. But here, Trump seems to be missing the point. India has options. China and Hong Kong would be happy to take over its diamond trade. If India turns eastward, it will not only preserve its economy but also strengthen BRICS. And every stone that doesn't reach the US is another point scored for China. This is not just a fight for market share, it's a struggle for economic influence, and the US is losing it. India is important not only as a pharmaceutical producer, it plays a key role in the field of IT services and export textiles, electronics, and equipment. A 50% tariff would make all of this more expensive. Both American companies and ordinary consumers would suffer. Businesses would have to pay more, and in the context of inflation and supply disruption, this would only intensify pressure on the economy. Most importantly, India is not an enemy. On the contrary, it has always been considered a partner for America, especially in containing China. But such an approach by Trump could push India away and drive it into the arms of the China and Russia.